Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome aboard for our webinar here today. My name is John Wright. I with HEP Development, and do want to extend a warm welcome to everyone. We have a very nice, large crowd today, and I think we have a very nice presentation for you here. There are a few administrative details I'd like to go over. If you do get a second here or two, please fill out the questionnaire that Josh has put together. You can see it on your screen. We do offer an extensive series of matching gift webinars, which are all free of charge. And if you go to our website, hepdata.com, and look in the Learning Center, you'll find probably close to 30 different webinars for all kinds of nonprofits, from small private schools to universities to large nonprofits. Anyhow, if you do get knocked off on either the audio or screen portion, just call back in or click back in using the link we sent you. We are recording today's session, and we'll put it up on our website for you to take a look at or pass on to a colleague who could not make today's session. You do have the ability to go ask questions as we go along. There's a place for chat. You'll see it on your screen where you can ask questions, and Josh and I will try to answer those questions as we go along, and we'll also end the presentation today, finishing up with some questions, I believe. So a little introduction on Josh Robertson. We're quite lucky to have him. Josh joined Ruffalo Noah Levitz in January of 1997 as a student fundraiser. So he started in the trenches at University of Georgia, and he's served in many managerial roles at Ruffalo Noah Levitz as program center manager. He was a senior operations manager, director of operations, vice president of product development. He's worked over 100 institutions, helping them to both manage their on-site Phonathons and working with them to build integrated annual giving programs and solutions. Josh today is vice president of analytics and strategy, and Josh's team analyzes and takes fundraising data and trends into actual insight and strategy for our industry. He received his bachelor's degree from the University of Georgia in international business. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Josh. Josh?
Thank you, John, and thanks for the opportunity that you and HEP have given us to present today. I'm going to give everyone just a few more seconds to respond to the poll, and then we're going to jump right in. We'll use mobile polling a couple times during the presentation today. I think it helps certainly keep everyone engaged and helps give really all of you a better sense of what some of the opportunities and challenges are related to Phonathons and matching gifts and dollars. So if you haven't submitted your response yet, please do so. You can use your computer or you can use your mobile phone by texting the number on the screen with the word Ruffalo NL, no space, and then select your answer, A, B, C, D, or E. So I'll give you a few more seconds and then we'll jump right in. All right, we'll go ahead and close this poll real quick. Thank you for all of you who've responded. As all of you can see on the screen, it looks like the vast majority of you that are on this call are seeing matching pledge rates at below 5%. So I think a lot of what we'll be covering today will be extremely helpful, and I'll touch on a lot of the different areas that actually impact your ability to maximize your matching gifts. So again, John, thank you for the warm welcome. We will be covering a variety of topics related to this, but I thought we would start by talking a little bit about why matching gifts matter. And as I was preparing this presentation, it really boils down to three key reasons. The first one is optimizing your return on investment. through Phonathon, which I think for many of you on the phone know is a growing topic within our industry. Phonathon is more labor intensive than some of the traditional channels like direct mail or email, and it costs more. So how do you get more out of every single phone call? How do you get more from every single donor you have a conversation with? And matching gifts certainly provides the opportunity to do just that. Also think about, is it easier to go and find another donor, to get another pledge, to have that pledge fulfilled, or is it better to, again, breathe more life or get more life out of your current donors that are already willing to pledge to you, that are already willing to make a gift to you? And the third is this idea of increased engagement. And we've done a lot of analysis over the past, I would say, really 9 months on how different channels influence each other, how getting donors, prospective donors, to take an action, to click on an email, to even open an email, how that drives sometimes engagement and performance of solicitations and other channels. And I think of matching gifts and getting someone to take an extra step, getting them to fill out a matching gift form, to submit it to you, and then seeing the impact that their dollars can really have at your organization, can really deepen that relationship. And I think with the competitive philanthropic landscape today, we all need to be mindful of any way we can increase constituent engagement. What are some of the industry trends? I looked across 200 of our programs where we're actually managing their Phonathon and really looked at fiscal year 11 through fiscal year 14. Fiscal year 15 numbers that you see on the screen are almost final. We do have some organizations we work with that their fiscal year does not end until December 31st. So these numbers will continue to fluctuate. And obviously for a lot of our higher education institutions, they are really just getting into the first quarter of their fiscal year, and so these numbers are very early. But the encouraging trend that we saw was if you start at 2012 and look forward, there's been a continual increase in the percent of matching dollars through the Phonathon and a continual increase in the percent of matching pledges that we see through the Phonathon. And for anyone not familiar with these statistics, the matching pledge rate is simply the matching pledges divided by the number of specified pledges your Phonathon has received. And the matching dollar percentage is your matching dollars that have been promised divided by your total pledge dollars. And I thought, again, very, very encouraging trend. But what does this really mean? Is 8% good? Is 6.67% good? And the reality is it's all over the place depending on the type of organization, type of higher ed institution that we're working with. On the high end, we see institutions with anywhere from low 20s to mid 20s for matching gift rate. The highest in fiscal year 15 was 24% of total dollars pledged could be directly contributed to matching dollars. And think about for your organization, especially if you're one that's maybe at 2% or 3% right now, what getting closer to 20% can actually do for your program. Of course, not all institutions are created equal. For those of you that are in higher education, I do feel obligated to point out that if you have an engineering program, it helps quite a bit. Engineering graduates, when we look at their results through Phonathon, they have an 18% match rate. Business at nearly 16%. Technology at 14%. The sciences at 12 plus. So if you're the reverse of this, if you have more education graduates, if you have more fine arts graduates, it doesn't mean that there's not matching potential there, but it means that it may not be the same as it could be for institutions where they have larger science and engineering and business programs. So we know matching gifts are important. We know that there's probably more opportunity there in many cases. So the question becomes, why aren't more gifts matched? And when we look at this, I think one of the most important things to point out is student callers, volunteers, they can't focus on everything in the course of a phone call. And it has nothing to do with a lack of intelligence or a lack of training. It's simply everyone can't focus on everything. Everyone can't focus on everything all the time. So if credit cards are a priority for your organization, then credit cards may be the highest thing that people think about when they're going through the phone call. And if it's matching gifts, then matching gifts is that thing. And what we've always seen is anytime we shift the focus with the callers, one result goes up and another starts to drop off. It's a natural progression, but it's one that's very important to understand. We also see a lack of targeting. So can we do more to find those people that are most likely to work for a matching gift company and to make sure that the callers that are calling those groups really understand that if they get a pledge, near 100% of those should be matching. Obviously, one of the challenges, everyone doesn't work for a matching gift company. Not a lot we can do about that. A lack of reinforcement. So I call this the set it and forget it mentality, that we make a big deal about, let's say, matching gifts, and then we don't talk about it again for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and the message really becomes diluted over time. So continuing to reinforce the message really helps to make sure that you optimize your matching gift rate. Poor messaging and delivery, we'll touch on quite a bit. And then a lack of goals. Simply telling people to do better is not a goal. Setting a goal that's not realistic is not going to inspire people either. So how do you set accurate goals for your organization? We'll spend some time on that.
Josh, there was a question. I don't know if you see it there, or maybe you can answer that.
John, I don't. Can you read it out?
Yeah, the question is, are these fulfilled pledges?
In the percentages that I've shown, no, they're not. And we're going to talk about some of the challenges with matching gift fulfillment a little bit later on, and then we've got some questions for all of you about how you're tracking that today and what your matching gift fulfillment actually looks like for your organization.
Okay.
So let's talk about this idea of targeting matching gift eligible prospects. There's a few different things that we can do, and the main purpose again for this is really figuring out who your highest value prospects are to help improve your ROI, to help improve your total dollars raised. The first thing to do is have your advancement team take a look and pull a list of IDs of anyone who actually has a matching gift associated with their giving history in the previous year. You might even extend beyond that and say, I want to see anyone who promised a matching gift in the past 3 years. Second group is anyone who simply pledged through the Phonathon and they promised a matching pledge. I would pull into this population people that didn't fulfill their initial pledge. I would pull into this population people that pledged, they fulfilled their gift, but they never submitted a matching gift form because you at least know that there's potential there. And when it comes to matching gifts and increasing ROI, you really want to start out with the largest population you possibly can. The third, and this is something that we use, is a service called AutoMatch. We partner with HEP for this, and we use that to help identify match-eligible prospects. And so what AutoMatch does is if Josh Robertson works for Coca-Cola and that record is sent off to AutoMatch, it'll standardize Coca-Cola, it will append the matching gift information and provide a way for us to tell that Josh indeed works for a matching gift company for a matching gift ask. Realizing some of you may have limitations with what you can do with an advancement system and pulling some of the previous year information. Some of you may have budget concerns and may not be able to utilize AutoMatch. So if you can't do any of those things, at least focusing on the academic units where you do see higher match rates. If you're a traditional nonprofit, depending on how you segment your audience, again, looking at some of the groups that have highest match rates and really focusing in on them. When you think about how to actually target, you know, in Phonathon sometimes we are segmentation heavy, and you know, I'll always share with clients I've worked with that a lot of segments sometimes equals a lot of complexity, but it doesn't always equal better results. Actually, it makes it sometimes harder to execute a strategy. And so when it comes to matching gifts, I really recommend using calling pools. Many times taking a group of segments and creating a calling pool that really reaches across those segments. The best example I could give you is if you have, let's say, 20 non-donor segments because you have 20 academic units, you might pull all of your matching gift eligible prospects based on what we talked about in the last slide into one calling pool. And what that allows you to do is train a very specialized group of callers that can really focus on that group, that should know that, again, if they get a pledge, it really should have a matching gift component, that when they're talking to those constituents, they should be using the potential match as leverage during the phone call to actually get a pledge. The second thing I want to talk about related to how to target is with reminders. And this doesn't apply to simply Phonathon reminders. It applies to direct mail. It applies to email. But looking at some groups, first of all, those that did not fulfill their initial pledge, but they promised a match with their pledge this year, that is certainly a group you want to go after to help your overall dollars in the door. Look at fulfilled pledges that promised a match but have not sent in their matching gift form. And then you might even look at fulfilled pledges from the previous fiscal year, because if you're still in the same calendar year, there's a good chance that some of those companies may still be willing to match that gift. So those are three really key groups to target. And I'll pause there for a second and see if anyone has any questions related to some of the targeting topics that we just discussed.
Yes, here we had one request is from a public radio station. We do not have academic units. We have listeners. That's from Evelyn. She was wondering if you had any comment on that, how to break it out.
I absolutely do. I mean, if you're a more traditional nonprofit, then you certainly can't play off of the academic units. I'd highly recommend something like an auto match service. If you have a high enough percentage of employment data on your constituents, look at that. Otherwise, maybe look at some employment append services, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, that can help you kind of grow your employment information that you've got in your CRM today. That's really where you have to start. And I'd also encourage, just on every phone call, which again we'll get into later in the call, but every phone call, every direct mail piece that goes out, you're capturing that data. When you look at any online giving forms you have, you don't want to make them excessively long, but if that's something you really want to be able to capture, at least capturing their title and their employer name, I think is really important. I hope that helps. All right. Talk a little bit about scripting and delivery. I think we've seen a lot of changes at different institutions to this approach over the past several years. When do you want to capture? When do you want to verify employment information? And I'll really walk you through some of the logic behind these different scenarios. The first is you want to update and verify as much information as possible during the intro of the phone call. And I think for a lot of organizations, there's a concern that once you've asked for a gift, you're going to have a certain percentage of people that may hang up the phone, and you're going to lose the ability to capture new information. You're going to lose the ability to maybe capture a channel that you can now solicit someone through, better target them in the future. And I think if you have a really high percentage of people who may fall into that bucket that they're going to hang up after an ask, then certainly asking for employer information during the beginning of the call is a valid approach. Using it during the middle of the call, using it as really a way to build rapport in between the asks, and we'll talk about what some of that verbiage may look like in a few minutes. I've always liked this strategy. I feel like it creates a two-way dialogue that you may not have during the phone call otherwise, and it really gets the prospect talking about them, and let's face it, everyone likes to talk about themselves, so it can be very effective. And then if you're not using the first two, you absolutely have to look at the close of the phone call, whether it's a specified pledge, whether it's a no pledge, figuring out how do you actually make this employer information ask, and really make it in a way that feels natural, that doesn't make your donor, your graduate question while you're prying into their employment history. So let's talk about some of the ways we can verify and capture information prior to a pledge happening. I've got a lineup here that I would highly recommend that no one use with their Phonathon. Where do you work and what's your job title? You certainly will capture some employment data, but you won't build a lot of confidence about why you're asking for it. You won't get nearly the percentage of people that are willing to volunteer you that information. Using lines like, I see you are as an example, Director of Marketing with IBM. That sounds exciting. How did you get into that field? It's always exciting to hear what alumni donors are doing with their degree. Are you working in a field you received your degree from? What type of work are you now doing? Again, you're getting them talking, but you're also serving this purpose of actually capturing that data. And while a lot of this call is not focused on it, if you find out that you have a lot of director level or vice president level or C-level staff that are being called, those are people that should be flagged for prospect research. They're people that maybe should be getting a lot of other solicitations from you. They're people that definitely deserve some more attention because they may even have more value to your organization over time. And the last one I've got an example of is, part of the purpose of the call is we're updating and verifying all your contact information. Many of you probably use something similar to this. And really basically tell them it's so we can continue to communicate with you in the most effective way. And then using some of the data that you may have, are you still working for IBM? Did you know they were a matching gift company? It's, again, a great way to keep the conversation going. And then the last that I mentioned a few minutes ago is utilizing a service like Employer Append, Employer Find, which HEP uses, to really make sure that you are maximizing the volume of data you have. So instead of having to ask, what company do you work for, what field are you in currently, and pry, you can already have some of that information in front of you and simply verify it, which typically makes for a much easier conversation.
We had a quick question, Josh, from Evelyn asking about what copy suggestions they might use, but I think you've already kind of covered it. Evelyn's with a PBS station in northern Michigan, but I think you've kind of already given us some ideas there. But
yeah, I think that the first option that's up there and the third option definitely are applicable across all different types of nonprofits as well as higher ed. It's really that second one that's a little more specific just to higher education.
Okay.
And as you're looking at some of these, I think for a lot of Phonathon programs, you want it to be conversational. You want the students to be able to put things in their own words. But there also comes a point, I think, with certain things like trying to capture information where you want it to be compelling enough. You certainly want them to put things in their own words, but you need to give them a really strong framework to work off of if you want to maximize that employment data. So what happens if you actually have a specified pledge? And we'll go through kind of scenarios of what the worst case looks like and then gradually getting better. Worst case is they forget to ask. And I think for all of you who may manage phone programs or oversee a Phonathon program in some way, this certainly happens. And we can talk about what you do and they simply forget to ask in a couple minutes. A better way is, do you work for a company that matches gifts? And my issue, my problem with this is it puts the onus on the person you're talking to actually knowing if their company has a matching gift program. And I think for people that have already made a commitment, they're ready to get off the phone, you're asking for credit cards, you're asking them all these other questions in the course of the phone call, they're probably not going to take the time to really think this through. They're not going to go to their company's website as you're chatting and actually look to see if there's a matching gift program. So that's why that's better, but it's not good.
Yeah, my comment on that, Josh, is most people don't know they work for a matching gift company.
That's a really good point, John. A lot of people don't, and especially if you're looking at your non-donor population, if you're looking at your young alumni, your recent grads, millennials, they really may not know at all. Right. And the number of people that do change jobs every year, every 3 years, there's a good chance that this isn't something that they've got taped to their bulletin board that their company matches gifts. So you have to really take it a step further. A good approach is, I see you work for blank and they have a matching gift program. Do you know how to have your gift matched? Again, I think it's good in certain ways, but the whole do you know how to have your gift match, that's a pretty big missing component. And, we utilize HEP software within Campus Call, our calling software. And so, having the callers able to actually say, I see you work for IBM and they have a matching gift program. I see they have a matching gift form online. Do you want that URL? Or do you need your matching gift coordinator's contact information? Taking it one step further, I think, is really important. Great would be, I see you work for blank. They don't appear to be a matching gift company. Are you aware of a matching gift program at your company? Because as John can attest to, new companies are coming on board all of the time with matching gift programs. And even though they may not be in the matching gift database you're using, it may be a newly created program, and you don't want to miss out on that opportunity. The optimal situation is if they say no, do you have a spouse or partner or significant other that works for a company that matches gifts? I can't stress enough the importance of this. It's a missing component that takes a lot of Phonathon programs that are focused on matching gifts from good to great.
We got a question, Josh. Where can we find a list of matching gift companies? When I Google it, I can't find any comprehensive lists. This is from Megan. Megan, I'll answer that one. HepData does keep a database of that information that's used by thousands and thousands of nonprofits. Just to give you, there's about 22,000 plus companies and subsidiaries that match gifts, and we add a net new one almost daily to that list. So the list continually changes, and depending on your type of nonprofit or school, the company may or may not match. So that's what we keep track of: who will match to Evelyn's PBS stations, for example, and who will match to Exxon's program. What type of charities will they match to? So we can chat offline about that, and I can show it to you. So, but Josh, go ahead.
Sounds great. Thanks, John. Let's talk about, when it comes to scripting, we've covered some different ways you can ask. When it comes to delivery, part of it is making sure that it is delivered in a compelling way to make sure it's happening 100% of the time. Many of you may have closed verification goals on Phonathon pledges where you're listening to every single one of those. Some of you may not have any type of goal around that. And I get that we're also moving in a time of the year for many Phonathons where you're calling a lot of your donors, you're getting a lot of pledges, your supervisors are running around like crazy on the calling floor. And that's an exciting time, but it's also a time for missed opportunity. Because if you're not listening to enough of those pledge closes, then you're undoubtedly going to miss out on matching pledges every time. I have always stressed the importance of coaching from literally the very first phone call, not as a way to intimidate callers, not as a way to make them feel uncomfortable, but as a way to help them grow and be successful from very early on. Any of you who've worked with calling programs and have been a caller can attest. It is a tough job, and especially the first few nights can be very frustrating. And so I can't stress enough the value of coaching as part of the matching gift verification process, and really helping them better understand, how do you phrase the delivery of some of this? When should you pick up on certain cues? When you have just found out that they're the director of marketing at IBM, and I know I keep using IBM as an example, but when you find that out, is that caller taking that next step and saying, wow, that's great. Well, they're one of our top matching gift companies. Not sure if you're familiar with this, but here's how matching gifts actually work. It's just a great way to increase not just matching gifts, but overall results. The third is monitoring employee performance. And sometimes this is hard to do with matching gifts overall, because if I'm calling College of Education and John's calling College of Engineering, in that scenario, he's going to win every day of the week over me. But if you look at people that are calling like segments, if you pull together a group of people that are matching gift eligible, and you see that Josh has a matching gift rate of 10% and John's got one of 50 in that group when he gets a pledge, then that's a problem. And so on the performance side, really good to keep a close eye on that, because it's easy for a really good caller calling your donors but not consistently asking for matching to really hurt you in terms of your overall dollars raised if you're not careful. The last thing you can do, and if you don't know this information, your advancement team or your matching gift coordinator at your organization can hopefully help, but figure out which corporations are contributing the most matching dollars every year to your institution, your organization, and share those with your callers. Because that way, it's front and center. I used to literally take a sticky note and put it at the bottom of their monitor because I wanted them to see it. I wanted them to see if Coca-Cola popped up on the screen to know that Coca-Cola matches gifts, and they needed to make sure they were incorporating that somewhere in the call every single time when they saw that pop up in employment data. Any questions on that?
Good. I got a bunch of questions here, Josh, but not necessarily on coaching. One of the questions is, can I get a list of companies that match by state or geographic area, zip code, or that type of thing? We do help clients out on that. It is available in some of our products. You can just type in the state, see where companies which are headquartered there. But that's one possibility. Another question is how much does it cost to get access to our database? So it depends on the size of the nonprofit, how we charge for things. But some of the products that give you access to the database are a couple $100. Some which you can put on your website, let your donors do searches on and download forms, can be used. Those can run around $600–700. Again, it depends on the size of your database. They're not. It's not thousands of dollars to have access to all that information, and your gift processors really like to have that access to that as well. Let's see. I think I got one more question here. We're a campus call user. Is it possible to segment calls ahead of time against the matching gift list so that prospects whose employment history shows matching gift companies can be called as a group?
Yeah, I think the simple answer to that is absolutely. You really, if you've imported information from the previous year on those that have pledged matching gifts back into your advancement system, then it's going to be much easier for you to do. If you're using a service like AutoMatch, it's going to make it really, really simple. So I'm happy to talk to whoever posed that question after this call.
Okay. All right, I think that covers most of the questions we got so far.
Great. One thing that despite the fact that some of the recommendations obviously are based in being very idealistic and perfect scenarios, we do realize, again, people are going to forget to ask. I'll share the quick story from years ago. I worked with someone, we were student supervisors together, and we're sitting in a meeting with all the supervisor team one day, and he said, I think our matching gifts are awful, and I think they could be better. And we all looked at him and said, all right, that's great. And he's just like, for the next month, the next 30 days, I'm going to reinvent what we do. And when you look at some of the suggestions I provided earlier with semantics, it was very assumptive. There wasn't a call where, they weren't expected to be very actively capturing employment data and, using the list of matching gift companies that we had and telling them it was a matching gift company, and if they didn't work for a matching gift company, asking about a spouse or significant other. And in the course of 1 month, we saw matching gifts really go from probably about 8% to I think it was 12 or 13%, just because it was constant. It was constantly in front of the student. They heard about it in every team meeting. It was on the whiteboards in the call center. It was just, there was not a single person on the calling floor that didn't know what the matching gift expectation or goal was. And when people would forget to ask, which it still did happen, they had to call a constituent back and apologize that they forgot to ask a question and ask for matching. And that may not be right for every organization, but I can tell you that the calls were very well received. And honestly, what happened was the callers really did not ever want to forget to ask for matching because they hated to have to call the prospects back after they pledged. So anyway, that's certainly a last-ditch effort to maximize your matching gifts. But if you do notice a lot of inconsistency with people asking, it's certainly something I'd recommend trying. So let's talk about the post-pledge follow-up. I've got another poll up here. I'm going to give everyone a minute to respond. But someone had asked earlier about matching gift fulfillment, and I'm curious to know what the audience is experiencing. So what was your matching gift fulfillment percent last year? And I hope for those of you that are answering no clue right now, you can certainly see you are definitely not alone. A lot of people are experiencing the same challenge as you. All right, I'm going to keep this poll open for a couple more minutes while I talk about the slide. This doesn't surprise me. Several years ago, well, we aggregate a lot of data for our clients, and we can report on a lot of trends. Matching gift fulfillment is one where we struggle with because I think our clients, in many cases, struggle to know what this percentage looks like. Part of it is, matching gift fulfillment may really expand, it may really cross fiscal years. And are you really going to look at matching gift fulfillment in December when your fiscal year actually ended on June 30th? And I think the answer is we should be. We should know what we're leaving on the table each year because really that allows us to build some better follow-up processes in place. So
I've got a question, Josh.
Yep.
The fulfillment meaning amount of matching dollars received versus amount pledged?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
That is correct. And I would say that for many of you at your organization, if you don't have exposure to this number, again, talk to your gift processing team, talk to your advancement team, see if there is a report that's generated out here that can provide some more visibility to what this number really looks like. Because really understanding this is a big part of the battle as you're trying to create a strategy around maximizing matching gifts. Because, it's fine to talk about pledges and pledge dollars. That's certainly the world we live in Phonathon, but it's got to be rooted in getting as many gifts and donors and actually fulfill dollars as possible. And I think we're all very, very aware of that. So what are some of the things you can do to increase your matching gift fulfillment? One is a matching gift postcard. I like postcards because they have one of the highest read rates of any type of direct mail package. The statistics we look at every year from the Direct Marketing Association confirm this. We've done some testing with different pre-call type postcards, and we always see that postcards seem to have the biggest impact on results. Why? Because they're highly visible, they're easy to read, you don't have to open them. I always do encourage, though, you really think about the pictures you're including, think about the verbiage, think about the personalization on these. You can send these in the fall to anyone who's a match-eligible donor. So maybe it's everyone who pledged and they work for a matching gift company and they haven't sent in their matching gift form yet. That's a good group to start with. So much of direct mail is obviously geared around volume, so don't be afraid to print out a lot more. Maybe you're sending these more frequently at your organization, depending on what your bandwidth is. Show you the back of the postcard real quick. There's a couple things I want to point out. There's obviously personalization here. They've got the name up here, which is pretty simple. I like using the name lots of times in pieces, especially if you're targeting more millennials. You see it in a lot of other advertising. So I think that the bigger and bolder you make their name to make it seem more personalized, the better off you're going to be. This is actually one of our staff members, pledged on April 15th, 2015. So including the date that they made their gift, I think is a really great step. In this case, this would be whatever company's name that they work for. And then we link out, as John mentioned, to a matching gift form or a matching gift site so they can actually pull up the matching gift instructions for their individual employer. And of course, there's a note at the bottom. If you've already sent your form, thank you. I think sometimes with anything fulfillment related, we get very concerned and worried about what if the form's in the mail? What if we haven't waited long enough? And just some very simple verbiage at the bottom of any email or direct mail piece, I feel like really addresses it.
I got a question, Josh, from Catherine. Do you recommend sending postcards to only donors or non-donors who we know work for a matching gift company?
I think it has value in both places. You would use them obviously in different ways. If I was calling in the month of November a large group of non-donors and you had pulled out all of those that are matching gift eligible, I definitely think there's value in testing, sending a postcard that plays up the fact that, our records indicate you work for a matching gift company. Here's why matching gifts are so important. When you receive your call, just know that your gift count's double to our institution. That's how I would use it if you're talking about an audience that is yet to give. And I would make sure that you're really dropping that postcard no more than 10 days before you start calling. You want it to be really fresh on their mind, and you also really want to make sure you have time to call through that entire population. But yeah, I think it's a great approach, John.
Yeah. We got another question here. Will we be getting copies of slides of the presentation? We will be putting up on our website in our updata.com in our what we call a learning center. There's a whole group of webinars there. We will put it up there for you to take a look at, and we'll also try to get you put up there a copy of the slide deck as well. So I think that should one of both of those should help you out. They wanted copies of the samples of the scripts is what Cindy's looking for.
Great. Also thinking about any next day emails that you're sending after a specified pledge is made, thinking about a specific reminder related to matching gifts. These are just a couple examples. In both cases, again, they are mentioning the company name. They are also linking out to the matching gift database that's hosted on those institutions' sites, just to make it really painless for the prospect to find out how to match their gift. Reminder calls. I see a lot of organizations not focusing a lot of time and energy specifically on matching gift reminder calls, and I get it. Everything can't be a priority, but again, if you're thinking about how do we maximize the amount of dollars that are coming back into the organization that can help this organization, and they can help you grow your annual giving program over time, I think it's a key group. So if I was looking at unfulfilled gifts and thinking about who am I going to remind, most organizations are looking at size of gift. They're certainly looking at how lax someone is in giving. But one other thing I would do is I would look at those that have not fulfilled and they promise to match along with their pledge. Because if you can get them to fulfill and then if you can get them to match, it's just more for your organization. Also targeting fulfilled gifts that there's been no matching gift form that's been submitted to the organization. So in this case, again, you're targeting people, they've already taken the first step, you just need to nudge them a little more to get that matching gift form in. Again, a lot of institutions aren't doing that today, but I think it's really a missed opportunity. And then as John can attest to, based on the matching gift payment schedules of some corporations, you should certainly consider whether or not, as your fiscal year rolls over, you maybe pull some of your fulfilled pledges from the previous year that, again, they either did not send in their matching gift form, or they work for a matching gift company but they didn't even promise a match. Nudge them. give them a reminder call and see if they'll take that next step, because you still may be able to get some of those dollars in for your organization. And then, do your reminder calls on a rolling schedule. Don't remind people in June that pledged in July of last year. You're not going to be very successful. At least do it on a quarterly basis to really maximize not just your matching gift fulfillment, but your overall fulfillment. Matching gift insert. This is an example from my alma mater that I get every time I pledge, and it's just a separate buck slip. They've used something similar for many, many years that just gives an extra nudge, an extra reminder of the importance of matching gifts. Again, they include the matching gift webpage at their institution, so you can browse the different companies, and I think it's just always a good reminder. And then in the world of unicorns and rainbows, if you had unlimited resources and time, you would probably be also sending out a matching gift form specific to the company that constituent worked with. Very few organizations, I feel like, are really doing this proactively today, but it's one more way to increase the likelihood that you're going to actually get a matching gift back. And the best way that I would recommend sending this is with any thank you receipt that you're already sending. Talk to your gift processing staff about this at your organization, but you know that of all the things that may get opened from your institution or your organization, they're certainly going to be opening their tax receipt, and so it's just a great opportunity to slide that in there. Any questions about the matching gift fulfillment before we move on? Great. Let's talk about motivation. I will not be talking about caller bingo or playing matching gift battleship with the callers. I think there's definitely a time and a place. I think there's value in that. But I firmly believe that a big part of motivating people is illustrating the impact of something. And as it relates to matching gifts, make it real for them. If you raised $100,000 last year through matching gifts, talk about what that means for your organization, how $100,000 can be used. Because if you educate your callers and you show them the value of doing something, they're more likely to do it. They're more likely to remember it. Also recommend additional training right before calling high match populations. I think this is hard, especially as we get into the busy season of Phonathon in the fall. We always feel like we train people during training. We did a new hire orientation. We did a returning caller orientation. And those things are great. They're important. It's a great time to mention matching. But really making sure, if you've got people that are calling engineering, you need to talk about that when you're doing engineering training, that a lot of these people match gifts. And as a reminder, here's how you ask for matches. And here's how you incorporate capturing employer information into those phone calls. Make sure you keep the goals and results in front of them. Again, they don't know if they're doing well if you're not telling them what the expectation is and then showing them the results. Don't mention it once or twice. Mention it every day that you're calling a population that you're focused on matching gifts for. And then last but not least, you can certainly do some floating bonuses around matching gifts if you really wanted. You can certainly do prizes and games around the percent of matching gifts. But I would just caution everyone, don't enable bad behavior at your organization. I think it's fine if you do occasional prizes and games around this, but when you start incentivizing people for capturing employer information or getting a matching gift, you can sometimes just open yourself up to some challenges, some falsified information, and that's the last thing you want. So beyond the callers, supervisors and trainings, bring in your matching gift coordinator if you have one for your organization, or whoever is the expert at your organization in matching gifts. Explain how it works to them. Explain the value. Talk about the challenges with the process. Why don't we see more matching gifts come back in? And if there's an FAQ document that person has, distribute that and walk through with your supervisors and trainings what some of those frequently asked questions are. They're going to be able to pass that along to the student callers, and you're going to have a much more knowledgeable and effective supervisory team by doing so. Teach them how to make an effective matching gift ask. Don't assume they already know. You certainly could look at doing some type of floating bonus or reward system based on matching gift percentage as part of their incentive if you really wanted to. Again, I'm not a huge fan of that. And then show them progress all the time. Make sure that they're reinforcing the message with all the callers. Make sure that employer information, the matching gift ask, is a part of the coaching metrics that they're responsible for. And then have a matching gift czar. So have someone out of your supervisory staff, if you have more than one, that is a dedicated person, that they are responsible for maximizing matching gifts. Everyone can't be good at everything. That's a person who should be looking at the matching gift rates in addition to you every single day. They should be thinking about how do we tweak something, how do we test something to get our numbers up even higher. And last section is really about measuring results and performance. We talked about some of this earlier, but I really recommend, considering your overall dollar goal for your institution. Everyone's goals are increasing every year, at least for every organization I've worked with. So what percent of matching should be a part of that dollar goal? And I think it starts with understanding how many match potential constituents you have. Really take a look at this for your organization and figure out just how much it maybe can contribute to that overall goal. Figure out your estimated matching rate by unit, and then do some what-if scenarios. What if we increase matching rate overall by 2%, 3%, or maybe 5%? What would that mean for our organization? And, based on that, figure out what a realistic goal is and figure out what a stretch goal is, and then talk about it. Communicate it all the time to your supervisors, to your callers, and really own it. Make sure that you believe in the goal you have. Make sure you're tracking it consistently. You're doing things to influence it. Just own it more than anything. So 5 things to remember from this. Really key that you identify and target match-eligible constituents. You can't really optimize matching gift performance without doing this. Set some goals once you know what that target group really looks like in terms of size. Really evaluate your scripting and delivery, and that includes training the callers on how to make an effective ask. Step 4 is really measuring the performance and coaching them to be better. And then maximizing that fulfillment, because the worst thing you can do is, you see a major bump in matching pledge dollars, and none of those dollars come back in the door. So this is really a key component that cannot be overlooked. Before we open it up to any other questions, we did have some questions that were provided ahead of time. I just want to walk through. The first question was, what's the biggest thing nonprofits can do to increase revenue from matching gifts? I would say targeting those that work for matching gift companies. That's just number one. Do you recommend compensating the student caller for securing a matching gift? If yes, how much? Again, I touched on this. I think it's fine to sometimes do prizes and bonuses. I don't really recommend this. I've seen this at some organizations that I've consulted with. Certainly backfire. It doesn't mean it can't be successful, but you really have to make sure you've got a strong verification process in place around this, and make sure you're not setting a precedent that we're going to pay you for doing the things that we expect you to do anyway. Do you recommend picking a caller or two to handle the bulk of matching gift eligible donors? Yeah, I am a big fan of this. If you have some people that they are your consistent callers, and then you're targeting a certain group of people that are match gift eligible, it's a lot easier than training your whole staff to be good at this. How frequently should a phone manager invite the matching gift specialist to do the training on matching gifts? This is a great question. I have never had that asked before. I've seen so few Phonathons even invite their matching gift specialists to do training. I would say at least a couple times a year. Depending on your organization and caller turnover, maybe it's quarterly. I'll leave that up to you. Another option, really, if you want to make sure you include this with all of your new hire training, is to record one of the sessions, and that way everyone gets at least some more personalized exposure to this as they go through training.
We got a question here on the chat box. Let's see. Who is best placed to manage matching gift reminders fulfillment process? Someone in annual giving or somebody in gift processing accounting? That's from Nigel.
Well, that's a good question. I would say it depends on your gift processing area, and I think understanding the bandwidth they have. What I would recommend is sitting down with them and really saying, here here are the 5 things that we would like to do to make sure we're maximizing matching gift fulfillment, and see how they respond to it. And I think at some organizations, that group would love to own it, and at other organizations, you'd probably get a response that we would love to do this, we don't have the time, we can make these 2 things happen, but the other 3 just aren't going to happen. And then you just have to figure out from an annual giving standpoint if you have the bandwidth within your team to take ownership and actually make those things come to fruition.
Got a question here from Catherine. If we're off-campus calling program, does RNL calling supervisors train callers on matching gifts? If so, what's the appropriate time frame to send our top matching gift companies to RNL?
The answer to the first question is absolutely yes. We're training on this particular topic. In regards to the second, with the top matching gift companies, there is no bad time to send it. Obviously, ideally, it would be before calling starts. But if calling started 3 weeks ago and you could send it today, absolutely send it today. It's helpful whenever we can get that information.
And the other part of Catherine's question is what other types of services are available to us for off-campus programs?
And I would say you can reach out to me directly after the call, and I'll connect you with the right person in our company. We've got a number of solutions depending what services you're using with us today.
Okay.
All right. Should the phone manager request regular reports on matching gifts received? Absolutely. And from the poll we did earlier, I think most of you saw that there's definitely a lack of visibility to what's happening with matching gifts, and so it's definitely something I would recommend. But again, please know it is a challenge in a lot of places. Does Ruffalo Cody or HEP Data have any other matching gift training video? We certainly have the session that we did last fall that one of our staff members hosted. And then, John, I know you've got a resource library as well at HEP.
Yeah, if you go to our website, you'll find about 30 so webinars there on matching gifts, and there's several there from previous years we did with senior members of Ruffalo Noah Levitz. So you could just drill down and look for Phonathon previous presentations as well.
And then the last question we had that was delivered earlier was, should the acknowledgement include a matching gift form when available for match gift eligible alums? Again, I touched on this earlier. I think it's really tough for a lot of institutions to execute that, and you've got matching gift forms that may change every year. So there are some challenges. I personally think it's better if it comes with the gift receipt. It's just more timely. You know that the gift's in at that point. That's when I would send it.
Okay, great. All right. Well, it's 2:59, Josh. Thank you very much.
I don't know that I've ever finished literally 60 seconds early. So if there are other questions, do feel free to send them to John or myself. I have my contact information on the last slide. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Twitter. We'll post some matching gift specific stuff here in the next few days that you may also find of interest.
Yes, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate your coming, and please reach out to either Josh or I if we can help you further. So thanks, everyone.
Take care.